Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And in this video, we're going to do another velocity banking review. But before we get started, let me just go over a phenomenon that I've started to call velocity banking poker face, right? And I started to think about this because I'm working with a nurse, right? She has owned two homes in Georgia, one that was a rental and another one that was like her own personal home. And because she's a nurse, she makes good money. Both husband and wife are working, and so I'm sure they make good money, right? And but she couldn't make the rental work. She was like, oh, there was no cash flow after each month, or um, and she also had to sell her primary residence. But she knew that I had information that I could share with her, and we can learn together. And she was like, "Hey, can you like teach me real estate investing?" And I was like, "Okay, well, I'll show you what I know." And this, but here's the thing: you actually have more experience in owning properties than I do, but I can show you what I know. And let's start off with this thing called velocity banking. And again, so she owned two homes. One was a rental, couldn't make it work. Another one, nice house where she probably bought it for $300,000, and then later had to sell it for 800. Now that's good appreciation, but she had to sell it, right? That's the word keywords, had to sell it. And so I'm going to tell you, I've done this presentation a couple of times, and I notice every time I ask questions like, "Hey, are you a homeowner?" and they'll say something like, "Oh, I used to own a home, but I had to sell it," and then there'll be like some sort of vague excuse about why the home was sold, right? And then after I do the velocity banking demo, I get this strange look where it's like no emotion, right? The nurse did that to me on our Zoom call. Like I saw her face in the camera, and then I did the velocity banking demonstration. There was this blank look. And I was just like guessing she's probably thinking a million things right now because I literally showed her how she could have paid off her home like 5 to 7 years ago, right? And how do I know that she was probably thinking a million things, even though she was giving me this blank look poker face? Because I know her youngest son, right? I know her youngest son. And so I just asked her youngest son, like, hey, like, what did your mom tell you about this thing? And she's like, oh, yeah, she was telling me how she could have paid off her home years ago. And when I did the demo, she just had like no questions, you know. But let me just tell you about what I've been able to do. So here I've got a mortgage, and this is like my Ty Lopez moment where he talks about, like, here I got my Lamborghini in my garage. No, but here I have my mortgage paid off under 3 years. So you see 2051 here is the maturity date. And then 2024, I'm sorry, this was July 29, 2024. So if you kind of do the math, 11/1/2021 is like the first payment. I paid this off under 3 years, right? And I have other real estate, one more property as well. So you can see here in 2022, I bought it for 210, market value 300, and I already have a 50% equity position under 2 years. I'll have that one paid off soon as well. So yeah, just a little bit about me. And I've been doing this velocity banking demonstrations, and I always like to demonstrate this, right? So I always like to demonstrate um, when I do velocity banking, the one penny left scenario, like, hey, you make good income, and like, there are tons of people who make good income, but guess what? At least 50% of people who make over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. So let's imagine that you're making good income and you have 10 credit cards, um, and and a mortgage and all these other expenses. How can you get out of this without making more income? And your average person does not have a response to this. Okay. And I said, all right, well, let's just assume that we had a line of credit available. And again, 90% of this, I'm going to be honest with you, is all like fear based, right? Because, so many people, they can't do things that are different from the norm, right? So I know people who make over $200,000 and they still can't get a line of credit, and they still have savings, and they're still doing all this the traditional banking way, because it's a mindset. And that's why I say money's not going to solve your problems. You got to fix your foundation and mindset first. And learn this over and over again, because I had learned velocity banking for 3 years, even though I was making 20 grand a year. And then eventually I just got it. And so once I got the line of credit, bam, like, debt's paid off, right? So let's go ahead and do this. Let's start off with what is velocity banking. All it is a debt payoff strategy using your line of credit as your main operating account, right? So you need two things: budget. We have a budget. Our budget is our debt attack plan. And then number two is our line of credit. as our main operating account. So it's a line of credit. Well, all it is a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay back, and use it over and over again, right? And I remember um, two specific moments where the nurse was like, I was talking to her about this, and I was like, yeah, same income, but we're not going to have any savings, right? And then let's go ahead and copy our expenses, and then we're going to copy this and have something called cash flow. And she was like, and I was asking her like, hey, are you sure you need to make more income to get out of this? And she was like, yeah, I'm sure. And I said, okay, let's go ahead and move these credit cards, which is $167,000, into that line of credit. And we kind of did this here, but let me re-demonstrate again. So we'll start again. $167,000 into the line of credit. We'll say that the line of credit interest rate is 10%, even though mine actually is 8%, right? So 10%, and she's like, yeah, you line of credit, or I'm sorry, you need to make more income. I was like, okay, but let's say we just move some of this debt into our line of credit and make it into our main operating account. Well, guess what happens to these credit cards? Zero, 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 zero. And then she looked at this, and I was like, how do we go from a penny to $5,345.84? And she was like staring at it, right? She was like, what the yeah, I could just tell in her mind. She's like, how I don't, and I was like, no, you got to put your entire paycheck into your line of credit and your expenses out. And she was just staring at it. I was like, like shocked. It's like the moment you want to get when you watch a clickbait YouTube video, but it's not really clickbait because it's real, right? I love making clickbait thumbnails, but once you see these videos, it's like, holy, how do we go from a penny to $5,345? Right? Because the final step of velocity banking is you put your entire paycheck into that line of credit, and then you take your expenses out, and then all your debt, instead of going down like pennies, $50, $100, like increments after every month, it's going down $5,345.84, right? Plus some interest charged into the line of credit. So again, let's just do a quick demo of this, and then I'll tell you the real kicker of where I saw the poker face. And the poker face usually happens because people have struggles with their mortgage, right? Like they don't understand after 10 to 15 years why they had to sell it. Like it's a very painful experience for them because, home ownership is supposedly the American dream, when in reality for most people it's just a bank scam. I'm not saying it's a bank scam for everybody, because again, I paid mine off under 3 years, so I didn't pay that much interest. All right, so now let's go ahead and do this, and then average daily balance times the interest rate divided by 12. That's how you calculate the interest or estimate it. And then you copy and paste this. So let's go ahead and copy and paste all of this. Whoa, take a look at that, right? Take a look at that. And then we see in 36 months, yeah, 36 or 37. Yeah, 37 months. So 3 years and 1 month. It's completely paid off. Now, we paid off $167,000 of debt. Isn't that crazy? Now, let's take a look at this. Let's see we had a $2,000 emergency. No problem, right? No problem, because it's still paid off in 37 months. And then people get shocked by that too. It's like performing magician tricks in like Las Vegas. So let's go here. So we take a look at this, and it's like now it's time to pay off the mortgage, right? And I don't explain everything when I do these demos, especially to someone who's never heard of the concept, because I don't want to go too much, oh, cash flow index and debt payoff order. And I said, listen, let's just pay off the mortgage and we can make it easy. How long is it going to take to pay off like $10,000 of this mortgage, right? And then I just kind of do the demo, and then I just do the chunking. Now, actually, let me open up my other scenario, which is a little bit more realistic. Give me one moment. So here's a scenario that I go over as well. So it's like, hey, you got $6,000 of income. Now, I think she, as a nurse, makes more than $6,000 of income along with her husband because they both work, right? But I said, listen, let's say you have $6,000 of income. You did the thing I was talking about, which is pay off your personal debt, and you only got two mortgages, right? 210, 200,000. And at this time, I think would be a decent time to invest in real estate, because if your tenant doesn't pay you, hey, you'll still end up positive, right? And I've said this in other videos. When you do rental real estate, you want to do it in a position of strength, not in a position of weakness. Okay, but let's just do this. How long is it going to take for us to pay off $10,000 of this 8% mortgage, right? And again, we don't buy $200,000 homes for $200,000. We buy a $300,000 home for $200,000 because if you know anything about real estate investing, the wealth is made when you buy it at a discount, right? You might have heard it in other places, like you make money on the buy. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the amortization calculator. So where's this amortization calculator? What we got right here. All right. So if we take a look at this, I just say, hey, if you had a $200,000 home, even at 8%, how long is it going to take to pay off $10,000 of the principal? And then you see that it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? 5 years. Okay. So 5 years. So remember that. Now, let's go to the sheet again. And let's say, okay, well, if you have rental real estate, you're going to have your income. And then let's go ahead and add the tenant's income. So that's going to be plus, let's see, maybe $2,000 is the rent in that area. Give a 70% multiplier so that we could get the net income, meaning 30% goes to expenses. What's our cash flow now? 3,047. Okay, well, why don't we just pay off $10,000 of this investment mortgage, move it to our line of credit, and see how quickly it pays off? Okay, and then I'm just going to do this, and then G2 plus H2 minus 3047.1, which is our cash flow, right? And then we got to calculate the interest, which is based on the average daily balance, and then multiply it by point 8 in this case, because it's 8%, divided by 12. And then this one's I2 plus 1, right? And then it's like, well, how long did it take to pay off the 10 grand, right? And it's like 4 months, where it was going to take you 5 years. And so if you just kind of do this over and over again, right? So we could just do another 10 grand plus 10000, right? And let me actually highlight that, might be better. Highlight that. And I'm going to, again, another 3-4 months, every 3-4 months, we're going to pay off that 10 grand. So something that took you 5 years, or possibly even, I wouldn't say it's 10 years. If you do it twice, like pay off 20 grand, I don't think it's going to take you 10 years. But what I'm saying is it's something that's going to take you 5 years. Oh, we did it in, I don't know, 4 months, right? And this is a shocker to them. And then once they realize how quickly they could have paid off the loan, because again, if you're making a nurse's salary, why could you not have paid off a $300,000 or $200,000 loan relatively quickly, right? Especially if you don't have that much debt. But because the way that society has trained you is that you're not going to apply all of your money into debt, and you need some savings as a cushion, and this nurse has only a $10,000 credit card as a max limit, and she didn't even know what a home equity line of credit was. She had no idea what a lot of things were. She's like, she just got into rental real estate, making good money as a nurse, had no idea what an S corporation, LLC, none of that. And it's like, this is what happens with a lot of people when they do real estate and business, is that they just want to drive the car and then crash it. And it doesn't matter how much money you make. You could be a nurse, you could be a minimum wage worker. You need to know the fundamentals before you get into these things, or else you're gonna be like the broke lottery winner, where you have the money and then you screw it up. Like you're broke within a year or two, right? Happens to a lot of people, more than people would want to admit. And the way that I like to think about it is that um, if you don't prepare and build the foundation first, it's kind of like getting the Excalibur and you're not King Arthur, right? Excalibur, yes, it's an amazing weapon, but it needs to be in King Arthur's hands. And if you're just Arthur right now and you haven't trained to be King Arthur, that weapon is just as good as worthless, right? That's the way that we have to think about understanding these things. And so many people are just like, I just want to make more money. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm not going to pay for classes. Don't teach me anything. Oh, wait, wait, wait. Let me go ahead and crash that car, and then I'll learn how to drive. That's the metaphor for finances today, right? And so back to my point, the poker face comes from the fact that they could have paid off these mortgages really early, and I'm just going to show you here. in this velocity banking calculator. Give me one moment to open it up. So I say, look, um, yeah, so this is a velocity banking calculator. I said, look, okay, if you were in this position, let's say you bought that home for $200,000, even at 8%, and you used, a line of credit for this, and you had this cash flow, you could have paid off your rental house in 4.5 years. 4.5 years. And again, when I showed this to her, I saw absolutely no emotion, absolutely none, right? And again, this is what I call the poker face. And I remember I did this to I showed this to someone else. I saw the exact same poker face. It was like I know people were thinking, and they were just like probably thinking. Well, I don't know for sure, but they're probably thinking, "Holy crap!" Or I'll say crapola. Um, I could have paid this off so much quicker, and I didn't have to sell my primary residence because of cash flow issues, right? And then now let's say that you paid off that rental house, and then now you just pay off your personal house, right? So we just redo these numbers. All right, here we go. I just did a time jump, but let's say you paid off your rental home in 3 years. Okay, why not just pay off your personal home? So let's say we had a 3% mortgage on 210. And again, same income, same expenses. Now we don't have to account for the mortgage as an extra payment because we're figuring out right here. And now it's 3.5 years. So 7 years you could have been paid off with two homes. And how do you think a person would take that? And take a look how much little interest we pay. Only 12 grand, right? And obviously it's a 3% mortgage, but it's still like better than 100 grand over 30 years, in my opinion. And that now you get all that cash flow back. But my point is this, right? Why do you think that poker face happens? The poker face happens, in my opinion, is because people are thinking all about the opportunity cost and the missed opportunities where it's like, oh my goodness, I could have just had this paid off like 7 years ago, and each house could have, especially at my salary as a nurse and a dual income household, I wouldn't have to work these brutal nursing hours. If you don't know what the average nurse shift is, like 12 hours a day, and it's really hard because they get treated bad. Like I don't know if you ever heard of like the saying, like even though they get good money, it's kind of like lawyers or maybe investment bankers where the working environment is kind of bad, and they just kind of learn to live with it. In fact, the term "eating our young," if you ever like type that in Google, it comes from nursing. So they got whole Wikipedia entries of bullying and nursing. It's like, what's up with that, right? But it's just what it is. And so now she's just kind of tired of all the BS, even though she's making good money. And so my point is this, right? My point is people just kind of give you this blank stare, blank look sometimes. And let me hold on. Where is the other velocity banking? Yeah, there we go. Blank look, blank stare. I know when they, especially when they told me they owned a home and then they had to sell it or they rent it or something like that, and there's some vague excuse about why the home was sold. I always get this blank look, no emotion, but I know that there's so much that they're thinking because it's like, what the F? I could have had this paid off in like 3 to 7 years, right? If you're me, three. If you're probably the average person, 7 to 10. Okay, so there's no reason why you got to keep paying for 30 and then just struggle with the monthly payments over and over again when again you maximize your cash flow by paying off your other debts and then you tack the mortgage principal. But this is what velocity banking poker face is. You should try doing demos yourself. I always like to start off with the obvious where it's like, hey, if you had a penny left over, how would you get out of that? Because then people can clearly see that the strategy is effective, right? Like, oh, let me go back here. But it's like once you get to the point and they tell you they've owned a home for 5 to 15 years, they had to sell it. Like they had to sell it, but like, oh, I was like, why'd you sell it? And then there's a vague excuse about why they'd sell it, and then they give you a blank look. That's the velocity banking, what I call the velocity banking poker face, because they're gonna tell, like, after you leave the room or leave the Zoom room, we'll say that if you're doing it online, they're gonna tell like 20 people. They're gonna tell 20 people you know what I mean? Like, and they'll act like that they didn't tell 20 people. But it's going to be like they tell two friends and they tell two friends and they tell two friends. No, I'm kidding. That I'm describing a pyramid scheme, but you know what I mean. So yeah, that's really a velocity banking poker face where it's like I could have just been debt free like 7 years ago. What the f am I doing? And I don't have to work brutal hours and 12-hour shifts as a nurse because every time I talk to her, or I call her, she's like sleeping because she's probably dead tired. People shouldn't have to work like that, but the reason that they had to work like that is because they got golden handcuffs. And you don't ever want to be in a position. And this is why I talk a lot about like the world, like so many facets of the world are just there to control you, and golden handcuffs is one of them, right? So if you're making minimum wage right now, pray to your lucky stars that you're in a minimum wage job because you have so much more possibilities than if you have golden handcuffs and you make big purchases and you mismanage your finances because now you're kind of stuck. You know what I mean? You're kind of stuck. Although you're not, you're kind of stuck. Okay. All right. Well, this is a Korean Atlanta mentorship, so just another demonstration of velocity banking, and also a discussion of velocity banking poker face. Have you known anybody, like maybe you did a demo yourself? Have you known anybody who showed you this velocity banking poker face, or maybe was it you when you saw this for the first time? You're thinking, "What the f? I could have paid off all my debt much quicker." Well, leave a comment below. I'm just curious. All right, it's the Korean Atlanta mentorship. Have a great day, and we'll speak next time.